In the middle of the 1980s, there was no name bigger than Michael J. Fox. He was the face of a generation, full of kinetic energy, quick wit, and a boyish charm that seemed like it would last forever. Whether he was sliding across the floor in Family Ties or racing a DeLorean at 88 miles per hour, Michael was defined by one thing: movement. He was always in motion, always fast, and always in complete control of his body. But beneath the glamour of Hollywood sets and the cheers of millions, a silent transformation was beginning. While the world saw a superstar at the peak of his powers, something was changing deep inside his brain, something that would eventually try to turn the world's most energetic actor into a living statue. It was 1991. Michael was only 29 years old, filming Doc Hollywood in Florida. One morning, he noticed a tiny, rhythmic twitch in his left pinky finger. At first, it seemed like nothing, a bit of stress, perhaps too much caffeine, or a pinched nerve from an action scene, but the twitch didn't go away. It was steady. It was persistent. When he finally sat in a neurologist's office, he expected a simple fix. Instead, he was handed a life sentence. The diagnosis was young-onset Parkinson's disease. The doctor told him he might only have 10 years left of his career before he became too disabled to work. To understand what Michael was facing, we have to look past the skin and bone into a tiny region of the brain called the substantia nigra. Parkinson's is not a disease of the muscles, it is a disease of the brain's engine room. In the center of your brain sits the substantia nigra, which is Latin for dark matter. This area is responsible for producing a critical chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but its most important job is acting as a messenger for movement. Think of it as the oil in a car's engine. When you want to move your arm, your brain sends an electrical signal. But for that signal to jump from one neuron to the next, it needs dopamine to bridge the gap. In a healthy brain, these neurons fire in perfect harmony. But in a patient with Parkinson's, these dopamine-producing cells begin to die for reasons science still doesn't fully understand. By the time a person feels their first tremor, like that twitch in Michael's pinky, about 80% of those cells are already gone. The engine is running dry. Without dopamine, the signals get stuck. The body becomes a broken radio trying to send clear commands through a wall of static. For the next 7 years, Michael J. Fox lived a double life. To the public, he was still the charismatic lead of the hit show Spin City. But behind the scenes, every day was a battle for control. He became a master of physical acting to hide his symptoms. If his left hand started to shake, he would tuck it into his pocket. He would hold a pen, a coffee cup, or a script just to keep his fingers occupied. He manipulated his blocking on set, so he was always leaning against a desk or sitting down to hide the instability in his legs. He wasn't just afraid of the disease, he was afraid of the industry's reaction. In Hollywood, sick often meant unemployed. He fought to maintain the illusion of health while his body was slowly becoming a stranger to him. This is the hallmark of Parkinson's. It is a thief that works in shadows, stealing your grace 1 inch at a time. Medical experts define Parkinson's through 4 primary symptoms, all of which Michael began to experience. First is the tremor. It usually starts on one side of the body, often described as a pill-rolling motion of the hand. It is most visible when the person is at rest. Second is rigidity. The muscles become stiff and tight, making simple tasks like buttoning a shirt feel like trying to bend a frozen pipe. Third is bradykinesia, or slowness of movement. This is perhaps the most frustrating symptom. The brain sends the command to walk, but the legs move in slow motion. as if the person is struggling through deep water. Finally, there is postural instability. The brain loses its ability to balance the body, leading to frequent, dangerous falls. For an actor whose career was built on physical comedy and agility, these 4 pillars were a cage closing in. Beyond the shaking, Parkinson's takes something even more personal: your ability to communicate emotion. This is known as the Parkinson's mask. The muscles in the face become stiff, leading to a loss of facial expression. A patient might feel happy or excited on the inside, but their face remains flat and unmoving. Their eyes might blink less often, giving them a staring appearance. At the same time, the voice often becomes soft and monotone, a condition called hypophonia. Imagine being one of the world's greatest communicators and suddenly losing the ability to show a smile or raise your voice. The world starts to treat you differently, assuming you are bored or depressed, when in reality, you are simply locked behind your own skin. In 1998, Michael J. Fox decided he was done hiding. He announced his diagnosis to the world, and the response was an outpouring of shock and support. But Michael didn't want a pity party. He realized that as a celebrity, he had a power that no scientist had, the power to make the world care. He founded the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research. At the time, research into the disease was fragmented and slow. Michael changed the model. He turned his foundation into a high-speed engine for drug development. Since its inception, the foundation has raised over $2 billion and has become the largest non-profit funder of Parkinson's research in the world. He moved the conversation from "why me" to "what now?" Today, Michael manages his symptoms with a combination of exercise and medication, primarily a drug called levodopa. Levodopa is a miracle drug for many, but it is a complicated one. Since the brain can no longer produce dopamine, levodopa acts as a replacement. It crosses the blood-brain barrier and provides the chemical oil the engine needs to move. However, long-term use of levodopa comes with a side effect known as dyskinesia. These are the flowing, swaying, or jerking movements you often see in Michael's public appearances. It is a cruel irony. The medicine that allows him to move often makes him move too much. Yet for Michael, the dance of dyskinesia is a small price to pay for the ability to keep working and speaking. Michael J. Fox has now lived with Parkinson's for over 30 years, 3 times longer than his original doctor predicted. He has survived brain surgeries, broken bones from falls, and the slow progression of a disease that has no cure. But he has also written 4 books, won more awards, and become a global symbol of resilience. He often says that Parkinson's is a gift, though he admits it's the gift that keeps on taking. It forced him to slow down, to appreciate the stillness, and to focus on what truly matters. He didn't just become a patient, he became a pioneer. The story of Michael J. Fox is more than just a story of a sick celebrity. It is a roadmap for how we face the unthinkable. Parkinson's is still an incurable thief. Every year, nearly 90,000 people in the US alone are diagnosed. But because of the boy who went back to the future, we are closer to a cure than ever before. Scientists are now identifying biomarkers that can detect the disease before the first twitch even starts. Michael J. Fox taught us that while the disease may take your movement, it can never take your why. He remains the boy in motion, not because his body is fast, but because his spirit refuses to stand still. While the world watches the tremor, the most grueling battles of Parkinson's often take place in total silence. Beyond the physical cage, this disease is an expert at internal sabotage. For many patients, The motor symptoms are only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface, the lack of dopamine wreaks havoc on the mind's emotional regulation. Michael has been candid about the invisible thieves: depression, anxiety, and sleep disorders. These aren't just reactions to having a chronic illness. They are direct results of the chemical changes in the brain's engine room. When the substantia nigra fails, it doesn't just stop the legs. It can dim the light of the spirit. Patients often find themselves navigating a fog where the world feels distant and gray. It is a reminder that Parkinson's is a total body siege, attacking not just how you move, but how you feel and perceive the world around you. As the disease progresses, the miracle of levodopa can become a double-edged sword when medications alone can no longer bridge the gap between neurons. Some patients turn to the most advanced tool in the neurological arsenal: deep brain stimulation, DBS. Michael is among those who have survived intensive brain surgeries to regain a semblance of control. Imagine a pacemaker, but instead of for the heart, it is for the brain. Surgeons implant thin electrodes directly into the substantia nigra, or the subthalamic nucleus. These wires are connected to a small device in the chest that sends continuous electrical pulses to the brain. These pulses act as a neuroregulator, jamming the abnormal signals that cause tremors and rigidity. It is a high-stakes attempt to rewire the city's power lines from the inside out, offering a window of stillness in a life defined by constant motion. For decades, the biggest frustration for the Michael J. Fox Foundation was that Parkinson's could only be diagnosed by observing physical symptoms, meaning by the time a doctor saw a tremor, 80% of the dopamine cells were already dead. But in a historic breakthrough funded by his foundation's $2 billion, scientists have finally found the Holy Grail, a biomarker. Through the Parkinson's Progression Markers Initiative, PPMI, researchers discovered a way to detect the presence of abnormal alpha-synuclein, the villain protein that clumps together in the brains of patients, using a simple spinal fluid test. This discovery changes the roadmap forever. It means we no longer have to wait for the first twitch to start. We can now see the thief in the shadows before he starts stealing. This is the key to creating neuroprotective drugs that could stop the disease before it ever begins to take a person's movement. Today, Michael J. Fox's spirit refuses to stand still. He has moved from being a victim of biology to the primary architect of its cure. He often speaks about the purity of his current life, how the disease forced him to strip away the vanity of Hollywood and focus on the raw, essential truth of being human. He has proven that resilience is not about the absence of fear or the absence of shaking. It is about moving forward anyway. Because of him, the nearly 90,000 people diagnosed this year have a reason to look toward the future with a different kind of energy. The boy who raced a DeLorean may have slowed down his physical pace, but he has accelerated the world's journey toward a cure. He didn't just survive, he showed us that even when the engine runs dry, the human heart can still find a way to drive. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, consider supporting Parkinson's research or sharing this video to spread awareness. Subscribe to join us as we continue to pull back the curtain on the mysteries of the human body and the resilience of those who live within it.